Welcome to the True You Summit. I'm Carrie Rubin, your summit host and Chief Mom Officer at the Modern Mom Society. I'm excited to bring you this summit to help you get the tools you need to live an authentic and joyful mom life that's aligned to what your body, soul, and mind desires. I hope you enjoyed this limited time free interview with one of the 15 experts that are here to discuss how you can get closer to your true you. Each day of the summit, we will explore 5 different areas of your life where you can improve your connection to your true you as a busy mom. Parenting, mom life, authenticity, spirituality, and mind and body. You'll have 24 hours free access to listen to the 3 experts discussing the topic of the day. Otherwise, you can purchase lifetime access to these life-changing series of interviews. There are 2 different packages available. The basic package, which includes all 15 interviews in MP3 format, can be purchased for $29, or the deluxe package, which includes all 15 interviews in audio, video, and transcript format, so you can get this great information whichever way you prefer. Plus, the deluxe package also includes bonus PDFs. One is the How to Connect to Your True You guide. It highlights the ways that the experts shared in their interview as to how they personally connect to their true selves, as well as the common ideas and themes throughout. So if you're new to connecting to your true you, or you're out of practice, you can start trying on these different ways of getting in tune with your inner wisdom, intuition, and true self right away. The second bonus PDF is Key Takeaways from the Summit. As I was recording all of these interviews, I noticed common themes and threads throughout. And this bonus document highlights these keys, so you'll be sure to get the most important ideas and begin to make shifts towards a happier, joyful, more aligned, and more fulfilled mom life today. The $29 and $59 prices for the basic and deluxe packages are good now through the end of the summit on May 10th. After that, the prices will go up to $59 and $89 respectively. So if you think you're going to miss any of these great interviews, or you'll know you want to have lifetime access to them, be sure to grab your True You Summit package upgrade today. Here's today's interview. I hope you enjoy it. Hi, and welcome to the True You Summit presented by the Modern Mom Society. I'm Carrie Rubin, your summit host and Chief Mom Officer at the Modern Mom Society. I'm excited to bring you this summit to help you get the tools you need to live an authentic and joyful mom life that is aligned to what your body, soul, and mind desires. Today's expert is Katie Garces. Katie is a nurse practitioner and certified nutritional therapy practitioner, blending her professional background in traditional healthcare, wellness, and nutrition with her passion for the healing power of spiritual wholeness for women and men across the country. Katie examines how our spiritual and emotional barriers have a direct effect on our relationship with our bodies. Her coaching and online programs utilize concepts of intuitive eating, intermittent fasting, and real food while working to achieve a grown-up and empowered approach to life balance, so her clients will live lives that feel sexy, spiritual, and sane. In this interview, we talk about intuitive eating, what it is, how to transition to an intuitive way of eating after being accustomed to a regimented diet way of eating, and what benefits you can expect to see as a result of eating in a more intuitive way. Intuitive eating was probably the first topic I knew I wanted to include in this summit after having just come off a roller coaster of being on and off restrictive diets for over 5 years. My body and my relationship with food was really the thing that triggered my spiritual journey over the last year. And eating in a more intuitive way has been an instrumental way for me to reconnect with what my body, mind, and soul truly wants. A doorway to my true you, if you will. I love Katie's approach, and I hope you do too. Here's the interview. Welcome to the True You Summit, Katie. I'm so thrilled to have you here.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so I'm looking around your website, and the first thing that pops up is spiritual, sexy, insane approach to health and wellness. Can you talk a little bit about how you landed on that?
Yes. So it was a few years ago now, maybe even 4, I found myself in a place, especially in the online space, where I felt like there was like groups for everything, which obviously there is, but I felt like they were pretty segregated. You know, there was a place you could go be super spiritual and use the G word, you know, say God or whatever. And there was a place you could go and just talk about your health and fitness and your latest measurements and your weight loss plan. And you could go and like complain about your kids and your husband and is it wine o'clock yet? And I was like, but I never felt like any of those overlapped. And I always talked about one thing in the fitness group, I'd be like shunned and, you know, vice versa. And I was like, there's got to be a place where we can have all of these conversations in one safe place, because all of these things are part of who we are as women. It's not like we're just fitness freaks or we're just spiritual freaks or, you know, we have all of these things that are part of us, and it's okay to have those conversations and to be a part of all of those things. And that's what helps keep us balanced and helps keep us on even keel, I think. And so I created the Facebook group, just like sort of the community, and then really realized that that's kind of where the basis of my coaching and really my messaging is coming from, is that we can have and we should have balance in all of these areas. A place where we can, you know, we do need to focus on our physical health and how we feel in our body. And that's kind of what I mean by the sexy piece, is it's really not the number on the scale or the pants size. How we feel in our body. Are we moving? Are we eating? Are we resting? Are we supplementing? Are we doing all the things that we need to do for our personal bodies? Because every body is different. And we'll definitely talk about that with the intuitive eating piece. That we're doing those things to feel the way we want to feel, how we want to feel in our body. And then that's totally okay to find out what that is for ourselves and to pursue it. And then the spiritual piece is, again, finding really what that means for you, because it might be different than what you were raised with or what you think you should be doing. What it means to you, and what I call just plugging yourself back into that spiritual power outlet, because it truly is where we can get a lot of our clarity, a lot of our energy, a lot of our focus, and a lot of our drive for our life when we're really like sort of in line and aligned with who we are, our spiritual being, and a greater connection or a greater source. The sane piece of that is just, as women, we have, you know, 8 balls in the air at all times, and we're always multitasking and not always as well as we think we can. And it's really about keeping our sanity and being able to do all of the above and being able to rest when we need to and take time for our self-care and all of that. And so really sort of focusing on all 3 of those pieces in order for us to be healthy, mind, body, and spirit. So I just kind of wrapped it up in that sexy spiritual saying, and it's worked for me, and I think it works for my clients. So yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot, because, and that's the reason why I landed in doing this True You Summit, is because I found that the forcing myself into a box to try to heal myself or get my body to do what I wanted it to do, it does not work. And you need to bring that spiritual piece into it. And I'm still trying to find my way, having been raised Catholic and not really resonating with that anymore, trying to figure out what that looks like and how that plays into my whole health and wellness piece. But I've found that the intuitive eating part, which I've been dabbling with, but it's hard for me because I'm a rules girl, and you're like, give me the rules, I'll follow them kind of thing. And intuitive eating is not that. So can you talk a little bit about intuitive eating and why you came to recommend it?
Yes, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. We all want to find something, a little box that we fit in that's going to work for us. And while, you know, a couple of lucky people here and there will find a box that is written about in a book or a blog, and they're like, hey, this works for me. Great. Most of us, as I alluded to a minute ago, we're bio individuals, and not everything is going to work for us the way it works for our neighbor or our coach or our bestie or whatever. But yet because we see some people having success, so we force ourselves into these boxes, we force harder and harder and harder. Maybe we don't get the results we're hoping for. So that brings up, especially for us women, a lot of emotion, shame, failure, guilt. And so if we're even slightly predisposed to emotional eating, that's usually when that's the tipping point. We're like, well, screw it. I can't do this. I suck. And then we go eat like all the things. And then we're like, then we started
in there.
Yeah. So for me personally, a lifetime of dieting and a lifetime of trying every single diet and every single program and recommendation and supplement. And maybe I would have some, good results for a while, but then eventually same thing. Like there's only so much restriction or so much sort of limitation we can do before just our innate humanness. It's like, no, I can't do this anymore. Like, let me be. And then the following guilt and shame would have me spiraling. And so it was a lot of yo-yo dieting, a lot of yo-yo weight loss, even if it was only 5 or 10 pounds.
Yeah.
Most of my life for like basically puberty until almost 40 years old. And to be honest, I just got tired of it. I was just like, tired. I am tired of like, okay, come Monday, what program am I going to start? Because I totally blew it this last weekend, or, only one more month and I can do another detox. Enough already. And that's how I felt. And so I had learned about intuitive eating in nutrition school. And I remember thinking, well, that's really, I like the idea of it, but that's not for me. Like I could never, like you said, not be following something. Mm-hmm. But I kind of decided, because I was just at this end point, I was just like, I can't do this anymore. So I really dove back into it. really reread and revisited a lot of the philosophies and concepts of it, and just kind of decided I'm at the end of my rope. I'm going to give this like a full-fledged try. And really trusting, even though it was scary as heck, because like you said, like if we're so used to having yes, no lists or that way, like then going out in the open, it's like the wild, wild west. It's like everything's off the table, on the table. I don't even know. And crazy and scary. But I decided I was just going to like commit to doing it for like a solid month and see what happened, and just really just trusting my body and trusting the idea behind it. And I had so much relief, so much pressure sort of lifted off of me. The foods that I thought I might overeat, because remember, everything's off the table. You know, you can have it. Intuitive eating. I mean, sure, there was some moments where it's like, oh, I might have overate that. But another beautiful thing about intuitive eating is because we're not beating ourselves up, it's probably the biggest thing is taking that guilt piece, that guilt and shame piece off the table for what you did or didn't eat, or if you ate too much or whatever. Then it prevents that spiral. It prevents that shame spiral, which is what kept happening to me over and over and over again. If I would maybe overdo it a little bit, instead of feeling guilty emotionally, I would say, oh, you know what? My stomach feels a little crappy. I definitely shouldn't have eaten all those cookies. Maybe should have just had a couple. I'm moving on. And the next time I ate was a chance for me to start fresh. And once again, tune into my body and say, what sounds good today? Well, I feel a little bloated from those cookies last night. I think I'm really focused on greens and lemon water today. And that's going to make my body feel better. And that's going to get me back, quote, on track. And when track, I just mean how our body wants to feel, how we want to feel in our body. And so, yeah, when you sort of dive into intuitive eating, there is a time period of testing and trying, and it's not always perfect and beautiful. But as you, again, learn more and more how to trust your body and listen to what it is that your body wants, as opposed to what some chart says you should be eating, easier and easier to give that to your body. There's some days that I feel like I want more carbs than normal, or, you know, there's days that you could have to pay me to eat meat. But then there's days that I'm like, give me a burger. In intuitive eating, when we're listening to our body and we can give it what it needs, our body sort of repays us in kind because we feel good, as opposed to those days that I was dying for a burger, but I couldn't have any more fat or protein that day, or vice versa. You know, it doesn't make sense. And so when we really just listen to our body, get back in touch, which can take some time, and start sort of indulging in what it is our body is asking for, it really can be this like sort of beautiful friendship. I say make friends with food, because we spend so much of our lives like hating it or going against it or struggling with it. Like we drop the struggle, make friends with food, for lack of a better term. It just all becomes so much easier. And the stress of all of that we carry around sort of dissipates. So that's kind of, I guess, a long answer to your...
No, that's a beautiful explanation. And then I think though, however, a lot of people are going to be like, okay, great, I'm going to try this out. But like, I bet a lot of people like me, when I first heard about tune into your body, I was like, what does that mean? So like I had worked with a coach, and she's like, well, have some breakfast, try these 3 different breakfasts, and then see how you feel right after. And then how do you feel like an hour after? I was like, that's a completely foreign concept to me, because we're not trained to listen to what our body is telling us. So can you elaborate a little bit more about things like that, ways we can tune into our body and how to figure out what to eat and what not to eat?
Absolutely. And I think this is a really important concept, especially when people are starting, is that I always tell people we crave what we eat. So if we're eating a bunch of junk, we're going to crave junk. If we're eating a really high carb diet, we're going to continue to crave carbs.
I'm on that junk train right now. I'm like, I gotta get off.
Especially like after the holidays. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's so hard.
Like Christmas cookies every night because I was eating them. It's like, once you stop eating them, your body's like, oh yeah, I don't really need that every day. A really good starting place is to just, and a lot of the experts will say this as well, go back to just a real foods diet, plain and simple. Whatever like a clean diet is to you, even if it's for like 2 or 3 days, just say like, I'm going to cut out the junk. I'm going to get back to basics, real food, healthy meats, veggies, all healthy fats, just for a few days. And that's going to help get your body back on track to start with. If it's going to be really hard to intuitively eat in a healthy way if all your body is craving is junk, because you're going to say, oh, well, I can eat it because I'm intuitive eating. So all of a sudden you're at Burger King every other day or whatever. That's not that healthy. That's not the thing we're going for with intuitive eating. So I recommend really getting back to like a clean diet for 2 or 3 days, even if that means kind of strict for 2 or 3 days. It's only 2 or 3 days. It's not forever. We can do that. And that really gets us back to like kicking those sugar cravings, kicking the bad habits, getting the junk out. And then it's like, okay, so what am I craving? And I find, at least for me, when I eat more vegetables, I crave them. when I eat more, healthy proteins and good fats, I crave them.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that in general is a rule that most bodies, it's like we crave what we eat. And so if you can get back to sort of basics, clean the slate with like just a couple days, 2-3 days of a real food-ish diet, then it's easier to sort of tune back in and be like, okay, what do I want today? And I always just ask people, first of all, when they think they're hungry, make sure, am I really hungry or is something else going on? And that's this whole...
That's a big one.
Oh, yeah. And that brings the whole emotional eating component into it. And the thing is, there's nothing wrong with emotional eating. Food is emotional. Eating is emotional. And there's no reason we should take that away. But what happens is if we continue to use it to temper our emotions or augment our emotions or whatever, that's when we get into trouble. And so if you're like, I'm really craving such and such right now, and let's say it's maybe something you don't think is very healthy, like chips, or something that you tend to overeat or a trigger food for you, then I just say, hey, like, check in. Is something going on? Are you bored? Are you lonely? Are you pissed off? Did you just get in a fight? Are you, any millions of emotions? And if that's the case, then really the next question is like, what really needs nourishing right now? Is it, am I really hungry? Or am I like lonely? Do I need to reach out? Do I need to have a phone call? Do I need to just go out on a walk and get some fresh air and nature, vitamin D? Do I need to call my mom? Do I need, what do I need? And then if you kind of go through that little mental checklist and you still feel hungry, then eat what you're asking for. But, even if I feel like I want something crunchy, crackery or whatever, I usually try to start with just vegetables and a good protein, just because I know that serves my body well. Mm-hmm. And if I start with that, then I'll have a couple tortilla chips on the side, but I'm not eating like a half a bag of tortilla chips, which in the past, because tortilla chips were a no-no, that when I let myself have them, I would overeat them.
Oh, totally.
So guilty about it, right? And now it's like, because nothing's off the table, if I want tortilla chips, I have tortilla chips, but I have them alongside my healthy meal because I know that meal makes me feel good in my body, and that's how I want to feel. Mm-hmm. Usually what I recommend is like try to get rid of sort of the not so great cravings and habits to start, and then just start really listening to your body. If you're a heavy exerciser and you do need more carbohydrates, and someone's always told you can't have carbs and lose weight, I would just examine that and maybe even test. There's a lot of testing with all of this too, because like I said, since we are all so different, we need to find out what's going to work for us. For me, I was so low carb for so long that it wasn't until I added carbs back in that I actually started to lose some weight. My body was desperate for those carbohydrates.
How interesting.
Holding on to fat for dear life because I was basically in a minor starvation mode because I wasn't giving it that fast fuel that so many of us need, especially women. And especially like women, we need to be so compassionate with ourselves. Our bodies change, if not daily, weekly with our cycles and what we're going to crave, what we're going to want, how our body's going to want to move. If you're having a really bad PMSy first day of your period type day, the last thing you probably want to do is go kill it at CrossFit, right? Mm-hmm. Kind to your body, be gentle. Like I guarantee your body will have better results if you rest or go for a nice walk or a nice yoga class on those days that you're feeling lethargic and just not so great, as opposed to pushing so hard and then feeling worse, right? Mm-hmm. I think it's just so important that us women try so hard to get back in touch with our bodies, respect the fact that our bodies are going to change day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year. I'm in my early 40s now, and it's amazing how things are changing. But
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, and instead of fighting against it, I am just trying to be like, okay, what's going on? And how can I go with this and do the best that I can to help my body, whether that's more rest, more sleep, higher fat, whatever it may be. I'm almost like inspector with my body, just really curious, not judgmental. That's a big differentiator. Don't judge things, just be curious about it. Like, why did I overeat last night? Or why was I craving ice cream last night? Or, it's all just data points. And if we just look at it like that, as opposed to good or bad or right or wrong, it just takes so much stress off of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's really interesting what you can find out when you start tuning in. So it sounds like just how you're feeling is one thing. Are there any other just like physical signs that you have people look for? Maybe like bloating or, any of those sort of like more handful sorts of.
Yeah. And I think you hit the nail on the head earlier when your coach had said, hey, pay attention to how you feel an hour afterwards or 2 hours afterwards. I'll even say, if you find yourself having like really high cravings in the afternoon, look back and see what you had for breakfast. And maybe you need to add more carbs to your breakfast so that you're not craving them at 3:00. Mm-hmm. Or if you've been, say, dairy free forever because that's what somebody told you to do, and you've started to add dairy back in, but all of a sudden you're breaking out or you're noticing bloating. Okay, well, maybe maybe dairy isn't, it's not that it's, a no food because it's a bad food, but maybe for my body, it's not serving me. It's causing some inflammation. So really noticing the physical reactions to the foods that we eat is important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious too, if you could talk a little bit about how you integrate intuitive eating with your family, because certainly you're feeding four different people with four different bodies.
Right.
How do you make that work with your family?
That's a good question. I feel like kids sort of naturally intuitively eat, and I feel like we can almost like learn from them. For anybody out there who has young kids, you'll like some days they'll go like a week where you can't seem to feed them enough. They're like little garbage disposals, and then like the next week I can't get my kid to eat anything. And I don't think it has anything to do with him saying I want to be skinnier or healthier or fatter or whatever. Like I just think that their body, maybe he was going through a little growth spurt last week, and this week he settled down a little, or sometimes they'll just kill the vegetables, and then some days they don't even want them. And so they stop when they're full. So I think we can learn a lot actually about intuitive eating from kids. But for me, in general, with my family, I try to just do a sort of a real foods-based diet. I do tend to give my boys, I have 8-year-old boys, a little higher carbs just because they're so darn active. So we'll do a lot of like rice or like gluten-free pastas. But there's always some sort of healthy protein and a lot of vegetables on our meals, usually 2 different vegetables, a salad and like a Brussels sprout or cauliflower, just because I want them. And I've always been that way with them. So thankfully they've kind of grown up with that palate. They like vegetables. But I think, my husband, for example, I think it's a little easier with men. In general, all of this is easier with men. Black and white as it is. Like he can follow a diet like without any sort of emotional component.
I know, isn't that crazy? It's so annoying.
He's like, I'll follow it. He loses the weight and he's done. And I'm like, we're so much more complicated. But that's what makes us special.
Right.
So yeah, I think, I have had people say, hey, I'm not making like 4 different dinners, or I'm not a short order cook. I think you just have to kind of work that out and figure that out for your individual family. And I don't think that you should be, making 4 different meals. I think that, have sort of a general framework of how you eat. Like I said, for us, it's always some sort of healthy protein and lots of vegetables. And that's not that they don't have ice cream or, things, and that's, I think a big piece isn't because nothing's off the table for them. It's not like they go to a birthday party and eat 5 pieces of cake because mommy never ever lets them have cake. Dessert, we have treats. We just don't have them all the time, but nothing is forbidden and nothing is bad. And keeping that morality out of food, I think for us as women, and I think for our kids, it just keeps it very neutral. And because there's no, there's no like hype about it. And sure, kids are still going to get pretty psyched about like sugar and treats.
Oh yeah, my daughter's huge on sugar.
And that's just normal. But I think if we don't put a big forbiddenness around it, then it loses a little bit of its allure, especially as they get older. And I think there's a reason, people go to college and it's that freshman 15. Obviously, there's a lot of things going on there, but everything's available to us. All these things that we've never had or that our parents maybe haven't let us have before, whether it's a lot of beer or food
or you can eat as much as you want, That's
right. And so just kind of keeping it all neutral is, I think, one of the best philosophies, and then sort of tweaking that to meet your family's needs and dietary needs.
That makes a lot of sense. Which leads me kind of into another question that you kind of alluded to already, which is, does eating intuitively mean you can never eat anything quote unquote fun, or conversely mean that you can eat all the things whenever the mood strikes?
Right. No, that's a really good question. For sure, it does not mean that you can never eat anything fun. In fact, I feel like I've had a lot more fun with my food since I have embraced intuitive eating. Just things that like are not part of my diet every day or every month per se. Like if it comes up, like the birthday cake, for example, or an ice cream cone, like if I want to have that, if my kids are having that and it looks delicious, then I will let myself have that. Conversely, if they have it and I'm looking at it, I'm like, I could take it or leave it today, and I don't have it, it's fine. Whereas if it was forbidden before, I would not stop thinking about
it
until I probably overate something else or, gave in and had like a double scoop or something, So I think it allows for loving, eating, and enjoying the things that we love now and then, again, without guilt or shame. And I don't think, honestly, anybody would want to have ice cream twice a day, every day. We just wouldn't.
That would just feel gross.
Right. And our body wants balance. Our body really strives for homeostasis. And so if we do have a day where we've overindulged, it's actually pretty natural, like I said earlier, for our body to want to eat lighter and eat more vegetables or whatever, because it really wants to balance things out. And so by allowing ourselves those, quote, fun foods, or those foods that we enjoy but maybe aren't on our prior health plan, it's just that. It's a treat and it's to be enjoyed. And I think the most important aspect of that is to not go into it feeling bad about it, or, oh, I shouldn't, because, even when we think negatively about our food, that raises our cortisol level. And when our cortisol level is higher, we actually don't taste as clearly and we don't get as much pleasure from the food that we're eating. So if we can truly be really relaxed and in a very sort of parasympathetic rest and digest state when we're eating in general, but especially when we're eating those enjoyable things, we are going to get more pleasure quicker when our cortisol is low, as opposed to a high cortisol because we're so stressed out about eating something badly or poor. We would have to eat more of that food to get the same sort of hit from it. So you end up eating more and you're not even enjoying it as much, which is, we can all think of a time where we've maybe been eating in sort of a panicky, like, I shouldn't be eating this, and like we overeat it because we're just trying to get that hit. If we can just chill the heck out, take away that badness from it, just like, I'm just going to sit down and enjoy this. I just suggest people be really present. If you feel like you're getting a little anxious about, like, oh, I don't know about this food, like, do that simple, 5 deep breaths before you start eating. That will deep breathing immediately drops us into that rest and digest state. And so getting that cortisol level down, getting us into a state where we're ready to eat, where our body's ready to accept food. Typically people in general eat less because we're paying attention to it. Our brain scans it, as opposed to mindlessly eating or eating under a really stressed out, like, I'm eating in the closet, I don't want anybody to see me. So definitely you can enjoy those fun foods. Just ask that you just be really present, really enjoy them, really savor them. You're going to get so much more out of that long term than sort of like, I'm just going to eat this real quick, As far as, what was the second part? Eating.
Yeah, you basically answered it. Like, can you never eat anything fun or eat treats all the time?
Right. And I think and I do think people think that. And there's some people do initially have a little bit of a weight bump when they start intuitive eating because of just that. They're like, I can eat whatever I want. And the thing is, our body eventually, usually within a couple of weeks, it's like, I don't feel good like this. And so it naturally balances out. The treats are going to lose their luster. It's going to lose that sort of novelty of, I can eat whatever I want. I'm going to have pizza every night. That doesn't last when there's no forbiddenness to it. And it's like, I don't feel good eating pizza every night. I'm going to have a salad tomorrow. It really does even out. Our body wants to be at a set point, homeostasis. And if we let it, if we're patient enough, that's another thing, because we all want these quick fixes, right? That's why everyone does diets and detoxes and challenges. We want that quick fix. We got to be patient with our body. And we got to give it time, and it will balance out, and your cravings will balance out, your weight will balance out if you just allow it to do so.
Yeah. I think that makes so much sense. And I've been playing around with intuitive eating since I gave up the restrictive healing diets that I had been on for a long time. And I'm finding that when I tune in, my body is surprisingly will say, like, no, I really don't want that dessert, or I really don't. But I find myself sometimes having it anyway because I think it'll make me feel a certain way. And so I'm trying to work through how to manage those emotions that come along with eating and not eating, eating certain things and not eating certain things. So, it's definitely a practice. That's for sure.
It is. And I think just being aware that you're even having those feelings, or that, I've done that where I'll say, I'm going to have ice cream tonight. And then I start eating it and I'm like, it's not doing it for me. Like, so I don't have to finish it. Like, I'll put it back in the bowl, or I just won't, or I'll give it to my kid or whatever. Like, sometimes if we are having those treats, just say, is this worth it to me? Meaning, am I enjoying this? Like, really enjoying it? Like, enjoy it. If not, it's not worth it, right? Your body's telling you something.
Totally. Any final tips to share around having a more harmonious relationship with our body?
Yes. I mean, I do think, like you said, it's a lifelong journey, especially for those of us who have struggled or, had challenging relationships with food or body image, which is most women. Know that you're not alone, even if it's not something you've ever really shared with anybody or talked about, that there's plenty of places out there to even like get support, or just read that you're not alone. Sometimes that alone can help, that you're just not alone in all of this. And sometimes just outing it, talking about it. I struggled with this for so long, but never talked about it. And it was finally just such a relief to just be like, oh, like, yeah, I've been doing this for a long time. I'm done. I'm tired. Let's move on. Really just honoring the body, getting out of our head, getting back into our heart, getting back into our body. We talk about embodiment. Sometimes we're so up here that we're so disconnected from our body.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever sort of practices that one can do to become a little bit more embodied, to become more sort of present in our body, whether it's meditation, mindfulness practices, prayer practices. I mean, time in nature is very under rated. I mean, people don't give it enough importance. Like time in nature, a gentle walk. You don't have to go out there and kill it and burn 300 calories. Just being present in nature brings cortisol so much lower. I mean, it does so many beneficial things physiologically. It's not just about calories in, calories out. It really isn't. Not that there's not a time and place for that, but when we're talking about getting back into our body, back in touch, and that's the most important thing. And it's okay to do that, and it's okay to take time to do that. It's like I said, it's been a journey for me. I'm still on it. And just learning how to really be one with what's going on in here, what's going on physically, emotionally, spiritually. Like we talked about at the very beginning, all of those components need to be in balance for us to be in balance. If we're totally out of whack in one area of our life, it's silly to think that everything else is going to be on track. So if you're killing it at the gym, but your diet sucks, yeah, you're not going to be great. If you're killing your diet and your exercise, but you're not sleeping and your stress is through the roof, yeah, you're not going to see results. Or you're doing all of the above, but you're an emotional wreck and your marriage is a mess. Yeah, I mean, we have to just work on all of the components and be okay with that and know it's just part of life. It's part of personal growth. It's part of our own journey. And so sometimes it's helpful to have coaches and or support groups to help you. But in general, I just, advise people just try to get back in touch with who they are and stop listening to all the noise and all the people telling you what they should be doing.
Yes.
Just really, really listen to your body. I like to say that there's so much information that we can glean from podcasts and summits and even things like this. I mean, great information, books. But at some point, we have to go into our body's own wisdom. Mm-hmm. Time for data and facts and knowledge, and then there's a time for body wisdom. And so you can tap back into that. I think that's a great start.
It's beautiful. It leads nicely into my final question is how do you stay connected to your true you?
Well, yeah, it's very similar to what I was just saying. I have on and off for the years been dabbling in all of those, sort of centering type exercises that I just mentioned, various forms of meditation and mindfulness practices, mindful eating, a huge component of intuitive eating. So currently it's a commitment to daily spiritual exercises for myself, whether that's a meditative type prayer, a reading, personal reading, reflections, just quiet time that I'm away from my phone, I'm away from my kids, even if it's just sitting in silence or going, like I said, going on a walk in silence. I'm, a big fan of podcasts and audios and stuff, and I can knock out miles while listening, but sometimes it's really important just to be still and be quiet. And that is how I always come back to myself. And it's also usually when I get the clarity that I may be seeking if I'm in a situation or I'm looking for some answers and I just can't figure it out up here. It's going to come from here. It's going to come from our hearts. And if we can quiet our brains enough to listen to the answers that are in all of us, then we're going to be great. We're going to get those answers, but we have to find those practices that allow us to hear. And so for me, it's turning off the noise. It's walks outside. It's time in meditation and prayer. Sometimes I've even noticed that I stopped listening to podcasts in the shower, and I get some of my best ideas in the shower, which is that tells you how much we're constantly bombarding with data and noise, and we live in an age that it's awesome because it's so available to us. But we also have to respect the fact that our brain likes silence, our spirit likes silence. They say silence is God's first language, and so really commit to carving out even if it's 5 minutes at first. I try to do about 20 to 30 now, but just carving out that time every day. And some days are going to be well, I'm not hearing anything and you're totally distracted. It doesn't mean it's not working. Just like everything practice. And if you do it every day, you're definitely going to glean benefits. So that's definitely how I stay connected to my true self.
I love that. Well stated.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for being here, Katie. I loved our conversation, and I know a lot of people are going to get really good wisdom out of it. So thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, it was great. Thanks.